As the whole world hopes for some sort of stability, we're slowly realizing seeing strange things is becoming our normal.
The footage was leaked to me by a Department of Homeland Security agent. He knew what was captured in these videos were anomalous, and that he had to get the videos out somehow to show the world that these things are real.
All around the world, the skies are beginning to fill up with bizarre sightings.
We're not alone. We are not alone in this universe, and it is a simple fact. And the U.S. government has been aware of that fact now for decades.
Objects that whiz by, and crafts that hover ominously.
That's a UFO for sure.
We're finally uncovering the truth.
That is insane. Look, it's just disappeared.
Care to join us?
I ain't never seen them in the sky in my life. Look how bright the sky is.
When you see something like this in the sky, you know somebody somewhere really messed up. Now, if you think this looks familiar, you're right. This exact thing was once seen in a movie from about a decade ago. But to think it's here now, blatantly out in the open, do you think alien life like that seen in a movie could be real? Perhaps the truth isn't that far off from what we're seeing. Of course, with technology progressing, this really could be a beautiful masterpiece of CGI or even AI as well. What do you think? Abduction in sight.
I don't know about you, but I don't think this happens too often on Earth.
If I were the driver, I would have been definitely freaking out. After all, it's not every day you get to see an alien invasion, and happening right under your nose in the middle of the day. It's like the aliens no longer care about being out in the open, and that's pretty scary if you ask me. But let's circle back to this video. Now, as exciting as it may be, you can't help but notice how it doesn't seem authentic. With the age we're in, CGI is more than just a possibility. But can you imagine how terrifying it would be when something like this really does happen? An old friend. After multiple reports of the sighting of a UFO in Bogota, Colombia, one resident finally released a video of a different angle. And now that we know what this UFO looks like up close, doesn't it seem weird how it was hovering over one spot? Perhaps it was trying to retcon the intel it had gathered before. Or maybe there was a landing zone nearby, and it was stuck until it was its time to fly away. But you know what's scary? This UFO was filmed a year ago, which means Bogota has been receiving aliens since, well, God knows when. Picture perfect. A UFO this perfectly shaped? If aliens are letting aircrafts like this on the loose, that can only mean one thing. They're no longer afraid of hiding themselves, and we're coming closer to an alien invasion day by day. But that's not our only concern. You see, this UFO was recorded unknowingly by a camera that was mounted over the mountains in Peru, and judging by what it does, you can see it didn't really expect to be recorded. But can we talk about what it dropped? Some weapon? Or an actual alien? Malay visitor. Six years ago, a Malaysian village was plagued by sightings of a giant disc hovering silently over. It had been happening for a while, until one villager finally managed to capture it on camera. And, well, no matter how I look at it, it's clear that this is some sort of alien spaceship, and one that's been lurking in the country for God knows how long. The thing is, this happened about 6 years ago, and it even made it to the news. But as to what it really is, where it went, or how it landed, these questions are still unanswered, because it seems the government there refused to look into it, which is pretty suspicious if you ask me. Tic-tac-toe. The Tic-Tac UFO is one of the most popular and simultaneously mysterious extraterrestrial crafts. While it has appeared a handful of times on camera, we've never been able to capture what it looks like or how it moves up close. Until now. All thanks to one passenger who wanted to record their picturesque view. See how it moves from one spot to another in the blink of an eye? I imagine it's only thanks to the camera that we can even see its speed. Who knows how much faster it is in real life? Galactic Galicia. A bunch of fishermen boating over Galicia excitedly recorded a small fleet of fighter planes. Initially assuming it was some sort of exercise, they quickly realized the planes were chasing something. And then we see this. That's right in the middle of the sea, a UFO clearly apprehended by the pilots, trying its best to escape. But it looks like the Air Force caught up with it and forced it down. Who knows if it made it in the end or not, but seeing something like this would certainly change one's life. Slayer's Layers. It's not every day you see a UFO plain as day, flying like it means business. And I mean, it's definitely unusual when you can see this UFO isn't just a product of CGI. I mean, check out those curves. This might be one of our only chances to see what UFOs really look like, aside from being disc-like objects. The layers suggest to me that this UFO could have floor levels inside, which means it's not only one, but possibly multiple aliens that are hunkered up inside. It was last spotted in Hawaii in 2015, and since then, the FAA has been on the lookout for anything remotely suspicious like this. A Heart of Tin. This is one of the clearest UFO videos you're ever gonna see. It was flying over a neighborhood, frankly very brave of it if I may add, and one man ended up filming it. But here's the thing, doesn't this finally tell us why all those UFOs we see in cartoons are shaped like a tin hat? Because this really is that very typical saucer-shaped UFO, which means we've been on the right track all these years. The thing is, I'm no longer worried about these UFOs, since I've accepted that extraterrestrial life exists. I'm just more worried about why they're suddenly starting to make themselves so visible. A Petrified Discovery. We think aliens are just starting to prove they exist, but they've been around for decades and have been flying their spacecrafts in blunt sight for ages. Just check out this UFO, which was actually recorded in Colombia back in 2005. And I know it looks an awful lot like one of those gravity-defying rides in amusement parks, but there wasn't any of those in the area, and the local who recorded this was pretty petrified. As it swung back and forth, the cameraman did manage to get a little close up. And well, if UFOs are lighting up like that, you know they've got a big group in there. Strange disappearance. You might want to lower your blinds for this one. This is one video the military doesn't want you to see. Apparently, one of our planes suddenly disappeared with its pilot. The scary thing is, another pilot flying close by was able to record this, and he's got no idea what happened. Theories range from some secret project from the US government, to the US government meddling with alien affairs and paying the price for it. Well, what do you all think? Altitude sickness. 20,000 feet above the ground? That's one place you won't expect to run into anything. But one passenger aboard a flight heading to LA recorded something peculiar whizzing by. It happened so quickly, we'll just have to slow it down a bit. But see, this can't just be a crazy balloon getting stuck in the crosswinds. This has to be something that can control its movements. So it's definitely some sort of an alien craft. Well, what if the skies are filled with them, and we just don't pay enough attention? The Secret Project. What if aliens weren't the only ones manning a UFO? I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. We think an alien invasion is the scariest thing that could happen to us. But is that really the case? What if we're headed for an even scarier event, and the government is covering it up by designing UFOs and flying them around to distract us? It all sounds absurd, but this is one of many UFOs that enthusiasts claim are actually manufactured by a government. And if we're seeing this one in sight, you know it could mean something crazy. Lumos.
Never seen those in the sky in my life. Look how bright the sky is.
A resident of New York captured a strange object in the sky emitting light so bright that it lit up the night. Seriously, would you even know it's night? No, right? Now, before we get on our high horses thinking these are just a bunch of stadium lights, there's no stadium in that area. In fact, there's not even a lamppost. And then it gets even more intriguing. As he moved the camera, he recorded another set of lights over a church. But this time, you can tell it's some sort of aircraft. If aliens are picking churches to land onto, maybe there's something truly fishy going on. A triggering moment.
Yo, that's a UFO for sure.
Here's a video of yet another UFO fleet, but this one appeared over Spicewood, Texas in 2022. Initially, Michael Daniels, the guy filming this, thought he was just covering a bunch of airplanes flying by. But then, they began moving in a very weird way, which we all know would have been too dangerous if they really were commercial planes. Daniels and his friends knew they'd captured something strange, but just thinking of them being UFOs sounded crazy. Well, up until now that the whole world knows UFOs aren't just imaginary things anymore. Porter trouble. In December 2023, multiple residents in Porterville, California witnessed a giant black orb flying in the sky. At first, everyone thought it was one of those happy birthday balloons due to its appearance, perhaps being carried away by the wind. But then, it began moving in different directions, as if it had full control over its movements. That prompted many to wonder if this was some sort of spyware, or even a UFO, both brandishing themselves as a mere balloon to escape suspicion. Well, we certainly wouldn't put it past the aliens. Cloud interference. Do you really think this giant cloud is what we're trying to show you? Heck no. Just keep staring at it, and you'll notice what makes it so special. That's right. What sort of object is that streaking right into the thick cloud? Now, as soon as the video went viral, there was a lot of havoc about what it showed. Some think it was just a bunch of cheap tricks mashed into a video. But UFO enthusiasts know how much these alien aircrafts love hiding behind clouds. And with one this thick, you can even expect some sort of mothership behind there. Space Shuttle. We've been going on and on about UFOs making their appearance on our planet, but have you ever stopped to wonder about life in outer space? That's right, one of our many space monitoring devices captured this, just casually cruising over the moon. If it weren't for the deep craters, it would have gone unnoticed. And here, we're lucky enough to get a closer look. Now, doesn't it seem like it's a donut-shaped UFO? That's definitely something we haven't seen before. And if it's on the moon, I wonder what it's up to. A gulp of gulch. Check out what one internet user uploaded. Now, before you go on to say that's a crane, duh, this is what the original uploader had to say. Firstly, there weren't any cranes or even a high-rise building in the area. This was filmed above the Gulch area of Nashville. Secondly, on the day it was uploaded, there was no record of any activity. No passing planes, rockets, nothing. Now, many UFO enthusiasts think this could be one alien spacecraft trying to hide behind the clouds, or it could be something else. We've got no idea, do you? Strange contrails.
Look at these clouds. What is going on?
If you paid just a little bit of attention to your surroundings, you might just spot signs of extraterrestrial presence. That's right, this streak of clouds was spotted by a fisherman. But hold your horses, it could be much more than we think it is. Many are beginning to wonder if these aren't just clouds, but traces left by UFOs that were hiding behind them. Perhaps they all came in at night, hovered for a while, hiding behind the clouds, only to rise back up, leaving behind these marks in the clouds. Cloudopia.
What is that? Is that a cloud? You see this?
Alright, fine. You might say that some clouds are just clouds, but how can you justify this as just a cloud? See how this creepy ring blends in with the others? You can tell it's trying hard to fit in, and it's definitely not one of Mother Nature's works. Could it really be an alien spacecraft trying to disguise itself behind the clouds? Perhaps it thinks its cover won't be blown away if it hid behind them. Aliens are pretty smart, so we can't really put it past them to actually pull this off. Smoky hideout. Japanese residents were recently rewarded with a sighting like this. Off in the distance, a pale cloud-like object in the sky. In fact, it is a cloud. But the question is, what is it hiding? Yep, because of its peculiar shape, many residents were wondering if this was just a smoky hideout for something sinister, or a cover it didn't want to blow. While UFOs have been becoming pretty brave about being out in the open, now we're not so sure. If they're hiding, what could their agenda be? Columbia Na. A couple of months ago, a passenger aboard a plane flying over Colombia recorded this. What was supposed to be just clouds ended up being a really peculiar video, because while we're used to the idea of hearing UFOs zip by, something about this one suggests it meant business. After all, this is a UFO flying above the clouds, so who's to say if it's the only one? What if the skies are filled with these things, but because we literally live down below, we never really get to see them? Spanish Nimbus. You won't believe what one flight passenger caught. As they flew over Spain, they noticed a bright glint just under their plane. Thinking it was some sort of reflection, they pointed their camera toward it, only for the round, bright object to take flight. You can see the bright disk floating away. When the video made the rounds across social media, there were a couple of jokes about this being Flying Nimbus from Dragon Ball Z. But as more and more people weighed in, it seems they've got no clue what it is. Except that perhaps it's a UFO. The 1979 UFO sighting.
Your leader, I want you to explain that to me, Doc.
While we're seeing UFOs a lot recently, it's very easy to claim those visuals are just a sham. But a sighting that dates back to the 1970s? Yeah, sometimes you've got to take a leap of faith. This happened in 1979 as an NFL game was playing. I say was, because when these objects appeared, it disrupted the game so much that it had to be halted. The audience, players, and even the camera crew were confused. They thought it could be some sort of aerial camera, but drones weren't really a thing back in the 70s. The objects went as they came, and since then, the truth of their existence still hasn't been uncovered. Aliens bravado. I've always wondered how many strange things pilots have witnessed just because they're high above in the sky. And it seems now, I've got my answer. Just from this distance, you can tell this is a UFO, and a close-up further proves it. But can we talk about how calmly it's flying high? It's almost like the UFO knows it's being recorded, but doesn't care. Now that's a pretty scary idea, because if aliens become bold and brazen, that tells you they're ready to take everything down. Mystique affairs.
Two bright lights way above the tree line.
One Canadian couple's romantic walk along a lake turned into an unfortunate sci-fi mystery. Just over the lake, they recorded what they thought was the sun. But then there was another one, which is practically impossible, right? Now, of course, I know it could be CGI, but the couple's reaction suggests otherwise here. Plus, this video's been reviewed by multiple experts who claim it's authentic. That can only mean one thing. These bright orbs are some sort of alien craft. Now, what were they doing in the Canadian wilderness? That's one question. But let's just hope they're as nice as Canadians can be. Meteorola.
The hell is it?
That is insane. Look, it's just disappeared.
This looks like a meteorite passing by, doesn't it? And that's what hundreds of Australians thought when it first appeared in their sky. But since then, evidence has been piling up. Evidence that suggests this isn't a meteorite, but some sort of alien craft. That's right. Although it moves exactly like a meteorite, many experts claim that isn't the case. It's some foreign craft speedily moving along, which is why it appears like this. The Pentagon truth.
Fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh.
In April 2020, the world changed forever. But not only because of the pandemic, because after all those years of wondering if the disks zipping across the skies were just a figment of our imaginations, the friggin' Pentagon came forward with proof that alien life not only exists, but has literally been visiting us for decades. Here, they show proof of encountering a UFO, one that seemed pretty eager to show off its abilities and try its best to get away. And even after the pilots locked in on it, it managed to escape. That's pretty terrifying. A suspicious build. What is it with aliens ducking behind clouds? Do they really think it's gonna grant them immunity? Well, now it's quite easy to say this is just a giant cloud. Because, well, look at it. But this happened in Moscow and even made the news. And look here. Doesn't it seem like it's moving ever so slightly? And if it's moving, or trying to move one of its components, then it literally does move. If that were really a cloud, would it be able to do that? And if you say it's the wind causing the cloud to move, wouldn't it be affecting the rest of them? Blue Beam Project. The Blue Beam theory suggests that our government will use advanced technology to prompt an alien invasion, so that only one government could rule over the world. For most of us, the theory quite sounds like a myth, but now we're seeing more and more of it becoming a possibility. This happened in India a couple of weeks ago, and while we've seen pretty weird stuff happening there, seeing something that suggests the existence of Project Blue Beam is terrifying to say the least. And if this isn't Project Blue Beam, could it really be a UFO? Hi-Rizia. After other major powers, Russia is also becoming a landing ground for extraterrestrials. Just a couple of weeks ago, 2 Russian teenagers hoping to capture the sky ended up spotting an alien vehicle trying to make its way in the country. As it hovered over a neighborhood, they initially assumed it was just a building with its lights on. But then they realized there weren't any high-rise buildings in that area. Not to mention the flight at the end. Prague Plague. When something like this takes over the sky, you know the world really is going in unexpected directions. This happened just this past July in Prague. And at first, like many of you, I thought it was just a balloon. But the person who recorded this swore up and down that it wasn't the case. It's also not a drone, because this was apparently filmed over a no-fly zone, leaving behind the gaping question, what in the heck is this? Many think this could be a peculiarly shaped UFO, scanning the area to get intelligence. Others think it could be a giant camera keeping an eye on us, proving that we're all living in a simulation. Strange debutante. A couple of years ago, this video debuted on the internet, and since then, it's been a big mystery. It was filmed over High Wycombe RAF base, but whatever this object was, seems to have gone undetected by their radars. Initially, many speculated that this could be a bunch of gliders with flares, but the only company to provide that facility nearby denied any participation. That leaves us with one question. What is it really? Over the years, people have pondered if it's some sort of alien spacecraft trying to show off, but the reality has been a big mystery. Loner trouble. A lone cloud over a mountain is suspicious enough, but when you zoom in, yep, this isn't one of Mother Nature's works at all. Now, I don't know what business this peculiar object has that requires it to stand still over a mountain, but something tells me it's something unpleasant. Perhaps there's some sort of alien base right on the mountain tops. That would explain why it's hovering like that. The scariest part is, multiple residents driving over the I-10 in Deming, New Mexico saw this, but we've got no clue what it is. Fleet anxiety.
I don't know what that is. That is some weird shit.
I'm pretty sure pilots have seen some strange things, but if they begin to question what they see, now that's how you know it's time to freak out. From a distance, this looks like just a regular fleet making its way across the ocean. But here's the thing, the pilot filming this is part of a fleet, and the fleet that we're seeing isn't human. That's right, we've got no clue what sort of aircraft they are, why they're traveling in sync, or who's manning the steering wheel. And if it's scaring Air Force pilots, that's definitely nothing good. Tafiti Air.
Something is in the sky. What is it?
In 2021, just as the world was trying to cope with unusual events, something struck Hawaii's shore. Just over the ocean, a bright blue object was seen by multiple residents, prompting countless calls to 911 and the FAA. Surprisingly, despite being visible and even recorded, no radar picked up on it. It was later reported to have dunked into the ocean. Since then, the authorities have been on the lookout. But what it was, what it wanted, and if it's still somewhere in the ocean, is a bunch of questions we still haven't found the answers to. Military mystery. Imagine capturing something so confusing that it makes the news, but still goes unidentified. This happened to one US citizen who recorded what seems like plane lights standing over a neighborhood in Las Vegas, but soon found out that this wasn't the case. Not only was the lack of movements of said planes concerning, but so was the military's response when questioned about it. They say they weren't involved, and we all know how that goes. The minute they say they don't know, you know they definitely do know something. Well, if they're meddling with the aliens, that's our cue to bunker up. Quick streak. Somebody captured a weird streak of light traveling in Saudi Arabia. Almost instantly, there was a ruckus on social media. Even the news got involved, with multiple channels streaming the video, claiming there was some sort of alien invasion. But then, meteorologists got to work and suggested it could also be a meteorite, since one had passed the area a while ago. Well, so much for all that frenzy. Fear flesh. As much as they look like it, UFOs aren't just flat discs. Here's a video that will show you what they really are like. It's not only the structure of the UFO that's pretty impressive. Can we talk about how fast it's going? That tells us a lot about how UFOs always manage to escape our clutches in the nick of time. They're just too darn fast. And this one appeared over Stirling City, Scotland in 2006. So if UFOs were that fast then, how fast are they now? Retconned.
Never seen anything like it. It is so weird.
There's nothing scarier than seeing a bunch of unrecognizable bright orbs flying just over your backyard. But if you've been keeping up with current events, you'll know that most of the time, these orbs will just carry out some sort of intel scanning and go on their way. So far, we don't really know what this is. It could be just a plane, but hovering over a house with no plans to move? I don't think that's a plane. If you've got any theories, let me know down below. Lost glory. The emergence of a couple of bright orbs over the night sky in downtown Las Vegas was so unnatural and alarming for the locals that it made the news. Right away, there were countless theories about what it could be. Some just ignored it, thinking it was nothing but a satellite. But this theory has long since been debunked. Now, more and more people are wondering if it was some sort of run-in with aliens, especially since it happened a year ago, and we've still got no clue what it was. Unanswered conundrum.
First thing I did was I emailed the FAA to let them know what I saw.
A couple of months ago, Michelle Reyes, aboard a flight, captured a unique object floating just along the plane. Confused by it and thinking it could be some object that got in with the wind, she sent the recording over to the FAA, hoping to solve the mystery. But her query was never answered, and now she's wondering if there's a reason behind all the silence. Many UFO enthusiasts think this is proof the FAA knows something is up, but doesn't want to tip off the public. And considering we've got a UFO like this on camera, with enough proof, it looks like the FAA needs to step up. Smooth glider. When your ring cam captures a peculiar, triangular object just casually grazing the sky, you know an alien invasion has long begun, and we've all just been oblivious to it. Now, if it had happened in any other pattern, we would have assumed the orbs are just a bunch of satellites or drones. But now, we're not so sure. Even creepier is that when this video made it to the internet, it turned out there hadn't been any aerial activity detected that night, which means alien technology seriously surpasses our own. Atlantic glints. An airline pilot flying over the Atlantic Ocean recently shared this clip with the world. According to him, the flight was going per routine until he and his captain spotted a bunch of orbs of light just aimlessly floating by. Thinking nothing of it, they continued, until they realized these orbs were moving suspiciously fast and in unprecedented directions. As they kept recording, the orbs continued their dance until finally going away. But according to the pilot, the orbs would return throughout the flight intervals, as if to keep an eye on his movements. Ugh, creepy. Open discussion. In the beginning of 2024, just as the world hoped for a normal year for once, something unfurled in Tehran, Iran. Citizens recorded a giant spinning disc moving just above the main city. Initially, when the video made the rounds on social media, people assumed it was an amusement park ride. But then you can clearly see it detaching and flying ahead. Since then, the city's been in shambles. On one hand, you've got clear proof of alien existence. On the other, the government had been really mum about the whole affair. So conspiracy theorists have been on the rise. And yet, what this is still remains an unanswered question.